The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over Sunset Beach Resort. The gentle sound of waves lapping against the shore was a stark contrast to the chaos brewing beneath the surface. Nestled on the picturesque coast, the resort was a haven for tourists seeking relaxation and escape. But this summer, something sinister lurked behind the beautiful facade. Emily, a young and ambitious journalist, arrived at the resort on a warm June evening. She was there for a well-deserved vacation, hoping to unwind from the stress of her job. Little did she know, her stay at Sunset Beach would be anything but relaxing. The first few days were blissful. Emily spent her mornings strolling along the beach, afternoons lounging by the pool, and evenings enjoying local cuisine at the resort's restaurant. She quickly befriended a few other guests, Lisa and Tom, a honeymooning couple, and Jack, a solo traveler with a mysterious aura. On the fourth night, as the group enjoyed cocktails at the tiki bar, the resort's owner, Mr. Harrington, approached their table. His demeanor was friendly, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about him. "Enjoying your stay?" Mr. Harrington asked, his eyes scanning the group. "Absolutely," Lisa replied, beaming. "Glad to hear it," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Let me know if there's anything you need." As Mr. Harrington walked away, Jack leaned in and whispered, "There's something not right about him." "What do you mean?" Emily asked, intrigued. "I've been coming here for years, and there's always been this rumor about people disappearing from the resort. Locals say it's haunted or cursed. Harrington bought the place 5 years ago, and since then, more people have vanished." Emily's journalistic instincts kicked in. She decided to investigate further, sensing a potential story that could boost her career. The next day, while everyone else enjoyed the beach, Emily visited the local library to research the resort's history. She discovered that the disappearances dated back decades. The most recent case was just a year ago, involving a young woman named Sarah who was last seen at the resort. Emily found old newspaper articles detailing the missing persons, but each case was closed without resolution. The common thread was the lack of evidence and the eerie circumstances surrounding the disappearances. That evening, Emily shared her findings with Lisa, Tom, and Jack. They were shocked, but intrigued. "Do you really think something sinister is going on here?" Tom asked, his voice wavering. "I'm not sure, but I have a feeling there's more to this place than meets the eye," Emily replied. The group decided to keep an eye out for anything unusual. As the days passed, Emily noticed subtle oddities. Mr. Harrington's late-night meetings with resort staff, guests who seemed to vanish without a trace, and strange noises coming from the basement of the main building. One night, Emily and Jack decided to investigate the basement. They waited until the resort was quiet, then slipped into the main building. The basement door was locked, but Jack, being resourceful, managed to pick the lock. The air inside was musty, and the dim light from their flashlights cast eerie shadows on the walls. They discovered old records, photographs, and personal belongings of the missing guests. It was a chilling sight. Emily took photos with her phone, intending to use them as evidence for her story. As they were about to leave, they heard footsteps approaching. Panicked, they hid behind a stack of old furniture. Mr. Harrington entered the basement, followed by two men. They spoke in hushed tones, but Emily and Jack could make out snippets of their conversation. "Everything is in place for tonight," Harrington said. "Make sure no one sees you." Emily's heart raced. They needed to get out before they were discovered. As soon as the coast was clear, they made their way back to their rooms, shaken but determined to uncover the truth. The next morning, Emily approached Lisa and Tom, urging them to leave the resort immediately. She explained what they had found in the basement and her suspicions about Mr. Harrington. They were hesitant, but agreed to leave that evening. However, their plan was thwarted. As they packed their bags, resort security knocked on their doors, informing them of a mandatory meeting in the main hall. It was a ruse. They were being watched. In the main hall, Mr. Harrington addressed the guests with a sinister smile. "I'm afraid there's been a security breach. For your safety, we must conduct a thorough check of all guests and their belongings." Panic set in. Emily knew they had to act fast. She whispered to Jack, who nodded and subtly signaled to Lisa and Tom. They needed a distraction. As Mr. Harrington continued his speech, Jack feigned a medical emergency, collapsing to the floor and clutching his chest. The commotion drew the attention of the security guards and guests, giving Emily, Lisa, and Tom the chance to slip away unnoticed. They headed for the basement, knowing it was their only chance to find concrete evidence and escape. Inside, they frantically searched for anything that could expose Mr. Harrington. Emily found a hidden door behind a bookshelf leading to a secret room. The room was a macabre shrine filled with photos and personal items of the missing guests. At the center was a large map of the resort with red X's marking various locations. Emily took photos of everything, her hands shaking. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and Mr. Harrington stepped in, flanked by his men. "I knew you were trouble," he sneered. "You've meddled long enough." Lisa screamed, and Tom stepped forward to protect her, but the guards overpowered them. Emily tried to call for help, but Harrington snatched her phone and smashed it to the ground. "You're not leaving this place," Harrington hissed. "None of you are." As they were dragged back to the main hall, Emily's mind raced. They needed a plan, and fast. The guests, unaware of the danger, looked on in confusion. Suddenly the power went out, plunging the hall into darkness. It was their chance. Emily broke free from her captor, urging Lisa and Tom to run. Chaos erupted as guests panicked. Using the darkness to their advantage, they made their way to the beach, hoping to find a boat to escape. Harrington and his men pursued them, their flashlights cutting through the night. Emily led the way, her heart pounding. They reached the dock and found a small motorboat. As they fumbled with the keys, Harrington caught up to them. "You won't get away!" he shouted, lunging at Emily. She dodged his attack, and Jack tackled him, buying them precious seconds. Tom started the boat and they jumped in, speeding away from the shore. Harrington's enraged screams faded into the distance. They reached the mainland at dawn and went straight to the police. Emily presented her evidence, and an investigation was launched. The authorities raided the resort, arresting Mr. Harrington and his accomplices. The remains of the missing guests were found buried on the property, confirming the gruesome truth. Emily's story made headlines, and she was hailed as a hero for exposing the horrors of Sunset Beach Resort. Despite the trauma, she found solace in knowing justice was served. She vowed to continue her work as a journalist, determined to shine a light on the darkness that lurks in the shadows. Sunset Beach Resort was shut down, its beautiful facade forever tainted by the atrocities that occurred within its walls. The waves continued to lap against the shore, indifferent to the human suffering that had taken place. And as the sun set over the horizon, the once idyllic paradise became a haunting reminder of the evil that can hide in plain sight.